And Philadelphia has it.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Phaithful Phanatics show, live here on DSM Media's Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter channels. Guys, first and foremost, if you are new to the channel, make sure to check us out on Twitter at DSM_media. Hit that follow button. We greatly appreciate it. And while you're over on the Twitter page, make sure to check out the link tree in our bio. It will take you to every social media platform we are available on. I am one half of your host, Dylan Davis. You can find me on Twitter as well at DylanJD98. To my right, my faithful co-host, Scotty. Check him out at Scotty Drowned. If you guys want to be interactive throughout today's show or any of our shows here at DSM Media, if you want to catch any of the DSM pregame lives, they stream exclusively on the YouTube channel. Click that link in the link tree, hit that subscribe button, like this video, comment, whatever you guys want to do. But it is the best spot to get your thoughts, comments, and questions pulled up on the screen here, like my man Brett is doing. The Philadelphia 76ers are one win away from the first Eastern Conference Finals appearance since 2001, Scotty. They walk into Boston, tied series, game 5, and completely and utterly dominate the Boston Celtics. Yes, I said dominate. Wall-to-wall, 48-minute performance. We're going to break it all down. Who stepped up? The MVP looked great. What it means. What's your biggest takeaways? But my man, this is just raw emotion from me right now. Like this was, I texted you last night. I had to think about it for a second in recent history, but screw that. I mean, this is about to be the furthest they are one win away from achieving something they haven't done in over 2 decades since I was 3 years old. This was the greatest, biggest win in Sixers history in my lifetime. How are you feeling on this beautiful Wednesday morning?
Yeah, man. I'm excited to be where we're at. I'm actually feeling a lot more focused as well. Just on trying not to get too excited because we know where this can go. There's still 2 games left in the series, but overall, the Sixers have done everything that they could up to this point to get a lead in this series. They've won 2 games in Boston. They've brought MVP Embiid back. He's scored 30-plus points in 3 of his 4 games that he's played so far. And they're 2-2 in games that Embiid has played now, right? Harden has gotten them 2 wins in this series. Everything that we've needed so far in this series, we have gotten. We asked for Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey to answer the call last night. They certainly did.
Absolutely.
But to your point, it was kind of a revelation last night because there was a lot of things going on that if you're a Sixers fan that have watched basketball in the recent postseasons, this was not normal. The things that were going on weren't normal. It wasn't anything like we've ever seen before. They came out, they started fast. They got off to a good start. They came out locked in. They looked a lot better than the Celtics to start this game. And there was a certain point last night in the game where it felt like these guys have figured Boston out. And Boston is running around, shuffling players around. Al Horford's not able to be on the court.
Peyton Pritchard thrown in the game.
Things going on in this game. It was a lot of symbolism in this game of a rite of passage for this Sixers organization because, like you said, we have not seen them get even this far with a lead in the second round.
Yep.
And this is huge, man. It's going to be great to dive into everything that went down last night. But like you said, I would say this is last night. Like I said, it was a revelation to the point where this is the best Sixers basketball I've ever seen. They're playing basketball the right way. And that's what I just kept screaming to Alexis. I could have cried last night because as somebody who has played basketball for such a long time and followed basketball, the sport alone, you just want to see it played the right way at the highest level. And when you saw them orchestrating and running like a well-oiled machine, that's the best feeling in the world when it's your favorite team that's looking like that championship caliber team, because that's what that was. It was a championship level performance last night.
So a few things, man, to go off of all your points there, which were all spot on. I completely agree with you. Like it makes you more focused when you now realize you are
Yeah,
one opportunity
very
away
close.
coming back to Philly. I'm going to enjoy this for the next 24 hours. Tomorrow morning, on to game 6, right? But this being this close, how can you not enjoy it, especially within the way that they got to this opportunity after last
Yeah,
night's victory? So that's part one, right? It's on to game 6 tomorrow, but let's enjoy this win for what it was for
yeah,
for today, or even a couple hours into today. Job's not finished, right? B, you said a couple times there, we haven't seen this before. If you're a Sixers fan, why? Why haven't you seen this before? Why last night? Because they are exactly what we said they were. They're different. This Sixers team is different than past Joel and B teams. This Sixers team is different than recent Sixer playoff runs. That's why you got the basketball you got last night. That's where the leadership of a guy like PJ Tucker comes into play. To have this team focused, to call them out publicly, to go up and grab Joel Embiid with a minute left in a crucial moment in game 4 on your home floor and say, yo, we need you right now publicly. And for those guys to be able to respond to the challenge. This team is different, man. They really are. And not only was last night the biggest win of my lifetime so far, just in terms of what they were able to achieve and being one win away from hosting the Eastern Conference Finals, it was how it was attained, Scotty. Like I said to start the show, that was a full 48-minute performance, and you hit the nail right on the head. Like, they got up early, and they never took their foot off of Boston's throat. Any run that Boston made, if you can call it a run, really in the third quarter, second half, in the late in the third quarter, early fourth quarter, when the Sixers were up by anywhere from like 12 to 18, Boston, I correct me if I'm wrong, Boston never got it to single digits in the fourth quarter. They never got it below 10 during that run. And that's because any three they hit, any God-gifted foul call that they got, back in the bonus with 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter, just like game 4, right? Any gift that they got, any time the crowd got back into the game, the Sixers answered it, right? Tyrese Maxey with a 3 on the wing to put them back up 17 or 18. PJ Tucker with a dagger 3 right before the Boston goes to their bench. They hit timely shot after timely shot. They didn't allow Boston to get back in this game, and that makes them different as well, right? Game 4, you saw a little bit of old Sixers pop out. 16-point lead, 14-point lead, and they weren't able to keep them arm's length. They were able to come away with a win, but they weren't able to keep that lead. No. Last night, they weren't messing around with that, man. So, listen, it's up to you where you want to start with this one. Obviously, Andre pointing out Tyrese, mother effing Maxey with a 30-burger last night. We talked about him heavily on the pregame show. I don't know if you want to start there, if you want to start with the MVP. Where do you want to begin when it comes to who helped propel the Sixers to this dominant win last night?
Yeah, we can start with the other guys, man. We can start with the law of averages. And what I mean by that is you look in this game, you see Tobias Harris, 7 for 10 from the field, 16 points, 11 rebounds, double-double. Boom, efficient, right?
Bang.
Tobias looked good. Had the 5 fouls, couldn't play a lot of the fourth quarter, but then
70% from the floor.
That's when we get to see Daniel House, his spark that he brought to the team. So shout out to Daniel House. Tyrese Maxey, we mentioned him before the show heavily, right? We went deep into Tyrese Maxey and what his impact needed to be on this game. He answered the call. 30 points, 6 for 12 from the three-point line, 50% from 3, 7 rebounds. He's even helping on the boards. He's getting in there and being aggressive on the boards. Maxey looked good, man. He looked confident, and I think he has room to even grow more than that. Still 10 for 21 from the field. I think he can do even better than that. I think he can be even more efficient than that, but still answered the call. And then obviously Daniel House, 10 points, 5 for 7 from the field. So the other guys stepped up in this one. You still had Hart in there. You still had Embiid at MVP top level form. But then on the other side, their other guys, right? That's where I talk about the law of averages, because Malcolm Brogdon can't keep hitting 5 threes a game. He can't keep shooting 80% from the field. And we saw that level out this game. Only 7 points in this game. Al Horford, keep shooting, brother. Keep
Bro,
shooting, elite
it is my favorite thing to watch within the game.
0 point.
Anytime Al Horford touches the ball, please shoot it.
He couldn't be on the floor. Marcus Smart, all the extra stuff that he's done, right? Get him out of there. Grant Williams, they eliminated all of the other guys. Derek White did not look like himself. That's another thing. Maxey getting over that Derek White hump. We saw Derek White make the second team all defensive team.
Yeah, okay.
Get that out of here. Maxey owns him now. He opened that up.
Snatched his ankles.
That's what I'm talking about. Law of averages. Law of averages said the way those other guys on the Celtics played the first 4 games was not going to keep happening in this series.
Yeah.
And now you're seeing it start to level out. You're seeing our other guys start to step up at the right moment. And I think that's a big turn in the series here, man.
No, absolutely. And here's the thing. When we talked about the other guys on the pregame show last night, we only looked at it specifically from a Sixer standpoint. We didn't talk about how to limit Boston's other guys. We didn't talk about if they would have a bad shooting night. And we basically said, you have survived 4 games with getting absolutely nothing from everybody else that isn't named Joel Embiid or James Harden and, PJ Tucker, but not in the statistical category, right? Yeah. So we focused on Tyrese Maxey and D'Anthony Melton and Tobias Harris and blah, blah, blah. We didn't focus on this man. I'm going to get into him as well and into Doc Rivers because well-deserved right there for Daniel House. But, the fact that it was able to kind of just meet each other at this mountaintop where Boston's others struggle. By the way, Malcolm Brogdon, that was your desperation performance. But that just tells me what this team's built like, man. Yeah. Like a glass house.
Yeah.
Like are you you come you're desperate and you have your worst game of the postseason. 6th man of the year gives me 7 points. Okay. But no, listen, Tobias Harris, as Chili said, where is it? Right here. His rebounding set a tone, obviously, with 11 boards last night, and that was within foul trouble. Tobias was big last night on both sides, but to see him finish at the rim a couple times, Scotty, was very, very important for me because I actually think his first or second field goal attempt didn't touch the rim. Like, he threw it up over contact, hit the glass, went the other way, and I was like, oh, here we go with Tobias Harris again. And then I think Tyrese Maxey had one spin out. He was there for a putback. Joel Embiid had one spin out. He was there for a tap in. Yeah. Tobias Harris to finish around the rim to get that confidence early was big. And then, you hit the net. Come on, man. We can't talk about the others without talking about probably the star of the game in this one, the biggest difference maker, and that is Tyrese Maxey. But you know what you saw last night, Scotty? You saw a confident Tyrese Maxey. You saw aggressive Tyrese Maxey. You saw Sam Cassell grab Tyrese after the game. There were some smiles and there was some pat on the chest. It was basically like, I told you so, bro. This is what we need from you. This is what you need to do because you're this talented. Tyrese Maxey was aggressive last night, and it paid big time for the Philadelphia 76ers, man.
Yeah, no, it was huge, man. And you talk about the numbers, right? We can focus so heavily on the numbers, but it's also the moments, right? And you mentioned the big shot in the fourth quarter. That was the game ender in reality when he's over on the right-hand elbow of the three-point line.
Absolutely.
He hits that cold 3, right? And those are the shots that we just have not hit in recent history to pull away, to put a game away, right? And once again, just another revelation of this team. They're able to do that, and Tyrese Maxey is just cold in the moment. Then he comes back down and hits another one in Derek White's face.
Oh, he snatches ankles on that one.
That one was very disrespectful almost, but he was feeling it at that point. The confidence was just shining out. 42 minutes in this game. He played the most minutes of any Sixer, and that's how it has to be. That's what it needs to be. He's the 22-year-old.
Exactly.
Youth. A game after Harden gives you 42. Yeah, we need Tyrese Maxey to come out and get us 30 in the next one. Now, what he's done, because you look at the box score in this, Tyrese Maxey had 21 shots in this game. He was 10 for 21, 6 for 12 from the 3. James Harden was 4 for 8. He only had to put up 8 shots in this game to win by 13 points. That's huge. You just conserved James Harden for a game 5, right? Now we get the energized, revived Harden back in Philly for game 6. So these are the things that we're going to learn over the playoffs as these continue, as we hopefully get out of this second round, because I can feel it now. I'm getting chills. I can feel it now, right? I can feel it coming. You still have work to do in this series, but these are the things we're going to learn over the playoffs. And as we learn more about this team, is how can they maneuver within a series? That is what they're doing. You talk about James Harden winning you game 1. Then you get to game 2 and 3, you drop them. That happens against good teams, right? Then you get to game 4. Harden and Embiid get you game 4. Then you get to game 5. Now it's Embiid and Maxey. Maybe next game it's Tobias and Harden. Maybe it's Harden and Maxey.
Right.
Maybe it's Harden and Embiid again. This is what we need to happen. We need everybody to step up in big moments, and that is exactly what's happening. I can't say enough about Tyrese Maxey, man.
No, nobody can
have
today.
3 straight bad games against
when all the attention is on you.
All of it. On the road.
You and I were not the only people on planet Earth talking publicly about how they need a big game out of Tyrese Maxey, about his poor performances over and over again against the Boston Celtics this season and in the postseason. And to step up in that way, it goes back, man. Like that, we talk a lot about how PJ Tucker can rub off on guys like Tobias Harris. It really makes you wonder how James Harden has rubbed off on Tyrese Maxey, because to see Harden step up in game 4 after those games 2 and 3 with all that attention on him, and then to see Maxey replicate that the very next night and give Harden basically not the night off. Harden was spectacular in other ways. About him as well. But in terms of, energy and output and volume, Maxey took the load off of James Harden. But I wanted to point out, man, we talked a lot this year about, within them being different, kind of the fact that they can beat you in a multitude of ways, in a lot of fashions. But that was really more stylistically, like they could beat you, you could muck up the game. They could beat you with the 3 ball. They could beat you defensively. This is just, they can beat you. They have a number of guys that can beat you. And that's why I'm not trying to get ahead of myself, because the job isn't done. And I don't want to talk up the Sixers and talk down Boston with a game, with a win left. Right. But this is why I've tried to shout that the talent gap is not what you think it is between these two teams. Boston's deeper. Yes, they're deeper. They don't have the multitude of star talent or offensive explosion by a singular player as much as the Sixers do.
Yeah.
They don't have 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 guys that can go off and win you a game and put those special performances side by side. Boston has yet to stack Tatum and Brown. Great performance. Maybe game 2, maybe I'd have to go back and look at their numbers. Game 2, sure, when they blew us out, right, when Embiid returned. I don't know what they finished with that night, but they haven't had a game where Brown and Tatum have 35 and 29 on efficient shooting. The Sixers have had at least 2 guys step up for 20, 25, 30 plus. Boston hasn't had that. They are the deeper team for sure. They are not the much more talented, dangerous team as people wanted to allude to. It's why the Sixers had the best record since December 5th or some crazy ass number across the association, because they are that talented.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. So no, all right, it wasn't game 2 when they blew us out. Tatum hasn't been right all series, it feels like. That's also a shout out to Tobias Harris. This by Brett. Scotty, I know we're focusing offensively because everyone was special last night. I thought the Sixers defense was incredible last night from the jump. I know Austin Crowd tweeted about it. Their rotations on Boston were perfect. There was no confusion. There was nobody getting beat in the paint often. The Sixers played a complete game, man. And that's why I'm smiling.
Yeah, this even with Chile brought up, B-Ball Paul, he's given you very few minutes in these series since Embiid's return, right? Only 7 minutes last night. Comes in, makes an immediate impact. And James Harden hitting that 3 after Paul Reed gets the jump ball, he gets the ball back for Harden, hits that 3. Those are the shots that teams hit against us.
Right. At the end of the shot clock.
And it ends our momentum, right? It happens in reverse, and that's a lot of what happened last night. Things were turning towards the Sixers' favor. Tatum only had 7 in game 2 last night. He had 36 last night, but he starts slow. Everything's from the free throw line. He doesn't get any rhythm in this game. 3 for 11 from the 3-point line. A lot of that, Dylan, is just because Embiid has returned to the lineup. There's no more easy layups going.
We were texting about that.
No finishing in the lane. Dude, he doesn't even look at the rim when
He's
Embiid
petrified in the paint right
doesn't
now.
even look.
He kicks everything out. Dude, he does a 180 in the air and throws a lollipop pass back out to the 3-point line just because of Joel's presence underneath the rim. Oh, yeah. And I don't ever
That's a great point, Chile.
I don't ever want to hear that Joel Embiid is a free throw merchant ever again. That dude had over 35 points last night and shot what from the field? 30-some%?
11 for 27.
I mean, my God, man. And he had 36. Scotty, I go back to this comment from Chili here. I've never seen the Sixers look that focused in the playoffs because they're different. Say it with me, everybody. They're different this year, man. They are strictly different. The Embiid chase down. I mean, the fact that, and they showed the overhead view where it wasn't even a goaltend. And then Maxey saves it. They go the other way. I think Daniel House finishes down the other end acrobatically.
No, he actually the crazy thing about the block is that and for some reason the clip gets cut off whenever they get back to the other end of the court. But what actually happens at the end of that sequence is Embiid gets back on the other end of the court, posts up on Jaylen Brown, and draws a foul immediately.
Okay.
That's the biggest sequence of the game because Joel Embiid is showing that he wants it more than anybody on the court. And you talk about chasing Jaylen Brown down for the block. Jaylen Brown gets back on defense, then he posts Jaylen Brown up. Yeah. And of course, Harden rewards the big man for his efforts.
For some reason, I thought it was, the finish I'm talking about, the Harden lob to House, and House kind of contorts his body midair and finishes, and it hits around
House, man. I texted you yesterday. I was like, maybe you put Shake Milton in for an offensive spark, something, to switch it up in Game 5 and give us a chance. He pressed the right button. It was Daniel House ultimately, but it was the right button all the way. Honestly, man, I've been asking you, about Daniel House probably since the end of the regular season because he looked really good in those minutes down the stretch and even a little bit against Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
He brings energy, man, and that's what you need at times. It was just a huge boost.
I think at this point, just, for the remainder of this series, Game 6, I would like Doc to shrink the rotation back down, maybe not 7, but, I didn't. He got away with it last night with Harden and the 4 bench players.
Yeah, the second quarter got a little sketchy.
He left it out there a little too long. It started fine.
A little too long.
He left it too long. Whatever. I'll get into Doc in a minute. I thought he was really good last night.
Yeah.
But I would like him to shrink that down. And if he shrinks it down, I think Daniel, specifically against Boston, needs to take George Niang's minutes. Because he's okay enough offensively. He can do a little bit more, as far as putting the ball on the floor and getting it to the rim and finishing. He doesn't shoot the ball as well as Niang, but he can shoot it from deep, right? But he is what? He's that longer, quicker, more athletic wing that can stay in front of these longer bodies in Boston. If George isn't getting the ball, which he really didn't even touch the ball last night, which means he's not shooting and contributing offensively, I'll say this to George Niang. He didn't stick out defensively last night. So that's a positive, but you would like to see Daniel House's, athleticism on the floor defensively over George Niang. So I do think Daniel House has definitely worked himself into the rotation. And I want to shout out Doc Rivers as well last night, man. I thought to push that button and then to have the faith to go back to it in the second half, I liked. And also I want to ask you this. We see a lot of times when the 76ers are up 15, 16, 17, and Boston would go on a run, and Doc don't call a timeout till it's a 4 or 5 point game. Doc nipped that in the bud every time last night, man. They cut it to 13, and Doc called a timeout. Doc didn't like something offensively. We had the ball, and Doc called a timeout, got a bucket out of it. I thought he was really, really good last night, man. He is coaching circles around Joe Mazzulla at the moment.
Craziness. It's craziness. Because that's what I mean. It almost feels like what Doc has been preaching the last couple of years is starting to come to fruition. He just needed the right guys on the team to make it all come together. He's been great, man. And I think it's just been under talked about all season. I mean, he's been really solid all season. Everybody gets caught up on those rotations. At the end of the day, during the regular season, man, when he's putting some of those guys out there on the court, he just has to see what they have in game. And that's what, it almost, we just overreact so much during a regular season loss at times to the point where we're saying fire Doc Rivers, and it's just irrational to an extent, right? There's a lot of people that said by All-Star break, if this thing isn't doing what it's supposed to, we should get Doc Rivers out of here and just let Sam Cassell run the team. No, you don't do that mid-season as a championship contender. You don't do that. And they didn't. They stuck with their guy, and it's coming to fruition of what it's worth to have a coach with the championship experience. Not only does he have that, he has experience in Boston as their head coach winning a championship for them. So there's a lot of things that go into this that help Doc Rivers ultimately elevate the Sixers over Joe Mazzulla. Which he's just been terrible, man. Joe Mazzulla, you listen to it, and I get it. We only get little short clips of what they're saying in the huddle, but it just sounds like bullshit, man. It sounds like complete bullshit. And mind you, Doc Rivers isn't much better with those speeches, but he at least has these guys bought in. You heard Daniel House in the press conference after the game last night. I didn't want to let my brothers down. I wanted to be a part of that we season. And that's what it's all about.
We season, baby.
It gives me chills, man, because these guys look at each other like a family. And once you have that accountability in the building, that one, you don't want to let your brothers down, and your brothers aren't going to let you let them down, that's when you're talking about special things happening. And, oh, my God, man, I can't get over it. I can't get over how special last night was. Man. And it was only game 5, and we're only up 3-2, right? It felt
Scotty, we haven't been in this position ever. Atlanta, 1 seed, 2-2 series at home. We blew a 20-point fourth quarter lead, down 3-2 to Atlanta. Toronto, the Jimmy year, down 3-2 in game 6. We have not been up 3-2, especially against the competition that is the Boston Celtics. And Chili, I did see it. And even their post-game pressers, man, Harden and Bede, PJ, Doc, they are very, very businesslike at the moment. And I love to see it. I'm going to enjoy it today. I'm glad that they're on to game 6 already. And they are ready. Yeah, dude, literally. First game 5, Sixers win in 22 years. Specifically when the series is 2-2, I believe. It's crazy what they were able to do last night and the fashion they were able to do it. But look, man, we have talked about the others. We've talked about Daniel House. We have talked about Doc Rivers. It's time to get into the 2 superstars on this team. And I think both played their roles absolutely perfectly last night. Let's start with James. Let's save the MVP for last, okay? James Harden. This is why we call him Philly Harden on this show, Scotty. This is why, because he can give you both. Right now, I would like to think that Philly Harden doesn't include 2 for 14 Harden, but he can give you both efforts, right? And when I look at last night, what was needed, you pointed out earlier in the show, 8 shots. 4 for 8. 1 for 2. He only took 2 3-point field goal attempts, Scotty, but he gave you 17. He gave you 10 assists because his teammates were knocking down shots. He gave you 8 boards, almost a triple-double, 2 steals, and only 2 turnovers for the point guard last night. James Harden was exactly what they needed James Harden to be in that moment last night. James Harden was exactly what they needed James Harden to be in game 4 when he had to take over and hit clutch shot after clutch shot. James Harden has been phenomenal. 3 out of the 5 games. And they've won those 3 games. If you're seeing a trend there, it's because it's there.
He's been surgical, man. He's been surgical. He's the orchestrator of this offense.
Allergies.
And I think this is what we've been talking about a lot of this series. You know, you get past game 2, game 3, get to game 4, we ask, can we get somebody in the middle there? And this is exactly what we got. 17 points on 8 shots. I mean, you talk about the
got to the free throw line.
50% from the field, 50% from the 3-point line. He's obviously helping in the rebounding game. The Sixers actually won the rebounding battle by 13 rebounds in this game. So controlled the board.
Hustle, man. Energy.
We asked them to compete in the 3-point battle. They matched Boston. Boston shot 8 more threes, made the same amount. These are the things we're talking about. But Harden specifically here, man, the defense, the awareness, the IQ, the different things that he does, the way he orchestrates in open court once he gets on a fast break and finds the open guy. He makes everything easier for Embiid. He puts Embiid in the spots that he needs to be, to the point where Embiid catches the ball at the free throw line. That is a layup. That is a layup.
Rhythm.
At the end of the day, that's a layup. It's all in rhythm. And I think whenever Harden's playing like this, it is extremely hard to beat the Philadelphia 76ers when he's playing confident, he's orchestrating, and pretty much you can do anything out of that pick and roll. You saw how many times even Maxey got into it, right? Running the pick and roll.
53 times they ran the pick and roll last night.
The other thing last night, and I talked a little bit about it earlier, but this also feeds into it as well, is just the unselfishness, right? Like, they're not selfish. He didn't come out and say, I need to dribble the ball and pound the rock all night last night, right? They were able to conserve Harden once again. You talk about Maxey playing the most minutes. Maxey was on ball most of the night last night. You get Harden into the offense after you get past half court. You want to conserve Harden's legs. Don't have him dribbling the ball up the 90 feet of the court up against Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, no, they shared duties last night.
They shared duties that take stress off of Harden's legs. It takes stress off of Harden's mind. And this is what we get, man. This is just perfectly orchestrated. The unselfishness, the we season. And when Harden specifically is leading this way, man, they're going to be harder to beat. It's actually crazy. You have to ask yourself, 42-point Harden or this efficient Harden that gets everybody in the right spots and the other guys are hitting shots? That's when the Sixers are optimal. The 42-point game is when we're desperate. Nothing. Right. Other guys, and we need Harden to just score the rock. Right. This type of performance shows we get other guys involved. It's a wrap. We can end these games early.
No, I agree with you. I think that's when the Sixers are playing more of that team game, that we season, as you're alluding to. But it's also great to know that threat is there.
Yeah,
and that's what makes the others so available and open, because so much attention has to be on Harden, because he's shown twice this series he can flash back and give it to you any way you want it offensively. And if he wasn't doing that when he's shooting 2 for 14, now they can sag off of him. Go ahead, James, I'll let you pull up tonight. Blah blah blah. But this by Chile right here, I mean, the pick and roll, I believe they ran it over 50 times last night with Maxey and or Harden. It was all rhythm plays with Joel and anybody else. But when we get into Joel's point, I'll bring this comment back up, because when you mentioned it's basically layups, that's when Joel was going last night, man. When Joel got the ball and had to, play with his foot a little bit, he knocked down a couple of those. But some of those you saw were long shots. He'd come up short, whatever the case was. Those pick and roll rhythm, catch and step into, right? They were knocked down, I would say 90% of the time last night. I mean, he maybe missed one of those. Yeah. So those are nice to see. I know you mentioned how Maxey took the ball handling duties off of Harden, which he 110% did last night. I will say, when Harden was in point guard mode, I think James Harden, out of the 10 players on the floor, controlled and dictated the pace of last night's game more so than anybody on either side of the ball. And the 2 turnovers come into key here, but his ability last night to get a long rebound, he obviously had 8 defensive rebounds, or get an outlet pass, and to know the correct moments to push it and, feed Daniel House, kick out the Maxey on the wing and give your guys open looks, and also say, yo, we're up 15. There's a minute and a half, 2 minutes left in this quarter. Let's get a look we want and not rush things and allow Boston to get quick possessions back offensively. I thought he dictated pace perfectly last night. Only having 2 turnovers to 10 assists was big. The efficient shooting, getting others involved, that in its own way was a James Harden masterclass, man. Yeah. In its own little different way than the 40-plus point nights, he was really good. Harden in playmaker mode means that Joel doesn't have to press Yeah, 100%. Because when Harden's in playmaker mode, when you get that Harden, there's not a ton of ISO ball. There's not a ton of, here's the ball, Joe. We're going to space out, go to work. You get it at times. Of course, he's that talented. When you get Jaylen Brown on him, you would like to get him the ball and let him use his size. But when Harden's in that mode, it's very easy for James Harden to create open looks and space for Joel Embiid and vice versa, right? So, yeah, man, James was great, but listen, I'll throw the ball back to you. MVP'd, man.
Yeah.
You mentioned it to start the show. 3 of his 4 games back, 3 straight games with 30-plus points. And last night was his best one, his biggest one. Again, a lot of eyeballs on Joel Embiid last night. Maybe not so much from you and I, but from other people, from media personalities, because of the way that James Harden had to carry him in game 4 and blah, blah, blah. Well, he gave you 33 on 10 of 23 shooting. He was almost perfect from the free throw line. He knocked down 3 threes. Do I need to see Joel shoot 7? Probably not, but still knocked down 3. One of them was big late in the game. What do you have? 7 boards, 3 assists, 4 blocks. So you got MVP level ball on the offensive side of things, and he showed you why he's the most valuable player on the defensive side of the floor as well, Scotty. The MVP.
Yeah, the sequence in the fourth quarter, man, when he goes down, it was the MVP performance. It showed everybody in the world Embiid wants it, and that's exactly what I saw last night. It was like I said, I've been using this word a lot this show, revelation, because things are coming to within the process. And that's what I was seeing last night with Joel Embiid. The greatest example of who Joel Embiid is, and it's not the fadeaways, it's not the, little ISOs with the pull-up mid-range. He can do it all, and he can do it all offensively. The epitome of Joel Embiid was in that sequence, right, where he chases down Jaylen Brown after he turns the ball over. He turned the ball over on offense. Jaylen Brown has a breakaway layup. Embiid chases him down as if nothing is safe in this game, right? At that point, you're Jaylen Brown. If you don't get that layup, you don't get that dunk, nothing is safe in this game. Embiid did not allow it. He blocks the shot, but not only that, he crashes to the floor after the block shot. He hustles, he gets up, he runs the floor. As you mentioned, Maxi's able to save the ball, get it up to Harden to run the fast break. And of course, Harden being the orchestrating, unselfish point guard that he is, he gets Embiid in motion as Embiid is flashing right back down the court, hustling to get back on offense and get position right back on Jaylen Brown, the guy that he chased down and blocked. Then he gets the ball immediately, doesn't think about it. Doesn't even think. Gets the ball, takes Jaylen Brown into the post, turns around, gets the foul, and goes to the free throw line. That is the epitome of Joel Embiid. That is Joel Embiid at peak. That is the best version of Joel Embiid that we will see. And I mentioned all of this. Embiid looked great last night. He looked free. There was a lot less falling, I would say, right?
Yep.
He didn't have the knee brace on. Obviously, that means the knee is starting to feel even more better, and you can tell it in his play. The biggest thing for me, man, is the defense, though. And I know I just touched on that sequence, the 4 blocks. It's not just the blocks, though. It's not just the rebounding. It's not just the chasing down. It's the presence.
Oh, my God.
That MVP, that defensive player of the year presence. He didn't even get on the second team, man. And we're talking about the presence. You could argue that he is the best defensive player in the postseason left. And that's even with AD on the board. AD's been phenomenal. I'm not taking anything away from him. Embiid has that type of effect on the defensive end where it changes games completely. Look at how Boston scored in game 1, man.
I was just going to bring that up to you.
Like,
that's a lifetime
miserable.
ago. That's a lifetime ago.
Miserable. And now you're seeing Jason Tatum. He looks like a shell of himself.
Oh, dude.
He had 36 points last night. I loved what Chile said about Jason Tatum's points because he's had like a 39-point game. He had a 36-point game last night. These stats are empty. These are empty stats. He's not hitting the big shot in the big moments. He's not getting into the lane in the big moments.
He's not taking the big shots.
He's not taking the big shot. And how many end of game scenarios have we seen Jason Tatum drive into the lane, see Embiid under the basket, and pass it out to Marcus Smart for him to take the blame? Marcus Smart just shouldn't be taking the shot.
No.
And that speaks to the Boston Celtics. I don't want to move off of Embiid too much there.
Yeah, no.
You see Jaylen Brown, right? He's disappeared in the second half. They haven't gotten him the ball in the second half. They got him the ball last night in the second half, and he did nothing with it. He missed free throws. He wasn't able to do anything that he was supposed to. So speaks to what they're on, but it also speaks to what Embiid is on, man. Last night he elevated himself above Jason Tatum. Don't put me in the conversation with Jason Tatum. Don't put me in the conversation with Jaylen Brown. I'm the best player on the court.
By far,
and that's what he showed last night.
Otherwise, is an absolute clown.
Bro, I was pointing it out to Alexis last night. Mind you, Alexis is my fiance. She's a casual basketball fan at best. She sees what I'm talking about. I'm pointing it out to her in game. Look at the shots that Jason Tatum is taking. Look at the offensive plays that he's doing. It looks out of whack. But then you see Embiid come down calm, cool, and collected and getting to his spots and knocking down his shots. There was a point last night, man, where I realized I was just like, man, this dude Embiid is just something else. Like, he missed the first mid-range from his typical elbow spot, free throw line, missed it. PJ Tucker comes in, gets the offensive rebound, passes it back out. James Harden or Tyrese Maxey, one of the two, end up getting the ball back to Embiid, right back in his spot, immediately takes it, nails it. Right there, boom. It was a mistake on the first one. Let me adjust. I'm going to knock this down really quick. When you see that type of focus, man, that's when you know that he is ready. And he's ready to take it. But I'll throw it to you, brother.
Yeah,
I'm lost of words at this point with Embiid, man.
There's not much more I can really add on to that performance last night. And the beautiful thing was we spoke about the end of game 4 and how there's room for improvement from the rest of the team. Joel Embiid wasn't perfect last night. There is room for improvement from Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
He shot 40-some% from the floor. You know, he took 7 threes, which you don't need to see, right? He turned the ball over 4 times or so. Like, there's room for improvement. And it was still the best performance on the floor out of any of the 10 players on the floor along with him.
So true.
That's why he's the MVP on both ends, his impact. I'm so glad you brought up the game 1 reference, because I was just going to do that when you finished up. Like, that seems like a lifetime ago at this point, but look at how the first quarter went for the 76ers. They gave up almost 40 points to the Boston Celtics, and it was rim run, rim run, rim run, rim run. Try to say that 4 times fast.
Rim run.
Excuse me. It was dunk, dunk, layup, layup, dunk, layup, right? And now it's not even the fact that he's there to block shots. It's not even the fact that he's there to just be a body and make them, you know, change their position and put up a crazy shot, which he still does. It's he's deterring them from the lane, right? Like, Jaylen Brown already tried to challenge him one time. How'd that go? Didn't go too well. Tatum's petrified. Tatum kicks it out every time he sees Joel under the rim. Smart doesn't want to come inside when nobody wants to come in the paint when he's down there. And I just think that's such a key moving forward. I kind of want to take it back to a team moment for a second here and look at the big picture last night, because you continue to bring up the word revelation, right? And it's a revelation for you and for us to see the difference in this team and what they did last night compared to years past, right? You mentioned Joel Embiid being decisive and quick with his decision-making last night. I thought the whole team was. I thought you finally got decisive Tobias Harris for the first time in a very long time last night. I don't know if you remember, he gets fouled the one play, but Tobias gets the ball on the wing, and his defender is already, is running 100 miles an hour at him. So once Tobias catches it, he's able to beat his guy to the basket. Yeah. And in that split decision, from the time the ball hit his hands, he knew, I want to flush this. And he got to the rim, and 2 guys hit his arms, and maybe the side of his head, and he gets to the free throw line. Quick decision. When he wants to shoot a 3, whether he missed or made it, quick decision. Yeah. That's Tobias Harris. Tyrese Maxey. So my point is, not only did us, the fans, have a revelation of what this team is last night, Scotty, I think they themselves did. And I would love to find the clip for you
We can do
and
this.
go back and show it to you. But I don't know if you remember this. I think it was Tyrese Maxey's wing 3 when they called a time. Boston called a timeout after. Maybe PJ Tucker's corner 3, and they called a timeout after. But they pan over to the bench, and Tobias Harris, of all people, looks happy. He's hunched over clapping, but he's serious and he's confident doing. There was a confidence throughout this team last night. That's the reason you saw Tyrese Maxey contribute the way he did. Tobias Harris contribute. There is a confidence within this team right now that knows they belong on the same floor as the Boston Celtics. That knows they can compete and beat the Boston Celtics. I've never seen that from Tobias Harris before, looking like he belongs and he can beat up and take advantage of this matchup. Never before in my life. And I'm seeing it now. Tyrese Maxey, uber confident last night. James Harden, confident in his teammates to make those open shots last night, and they rewarded him doing so. This team's oozing with confidence, and it was like a revelation for them last night to say, okay, and then bang, business afterwards. Get off the floor. Let's go take care of business, and let's fly the F home because the job's not done yet. I absolutely love what I saw last night. And listen, it ain't just us feeling good, and I know they got to win one more, and then the job still ain't done. They are now the co-favorites in Vegas to win the NBA Finals with the Denver Nuggets at plus 290.
It's insane. Yeah.
Whatever that means to you, I don't know. But
I got two more things for you from this game because I thought you hit the nail on the head there with the confidence and just looking like they fit the part, right? Looking the part of making it to the Eastern Conference Finals. They look like a team that belongs there right now. Two things. So talk about Tobias Harris, the way he looked, and it brought something to my mind. It's something that Doc talked about in the after game, the post game press conference. But Daniel House giving him the European signal to come out of the game. He needed a substitute. He was out of breath, right? He couldn't breathe.
Doc, did you hear Doc's comments? He's like, I thought he meant we have a play called X. He's like, X? He's like, no, coach, I can't breathe.
But then he says Tobias, had to signal to him to get him out of the game at one point. But it's because these guys are leaving it all on the court. They're literally leaving it all on the court. Daniel House comes out, plays 10 minutes, and he fully exhausts himself. He lets it all out on the court. Tobias Harris, you're going to have 5,000 a game. You're going to miss a little bit of time in the second half. Well, when you're out there, you're going to exhaust yourself on that court. And that is the difference right now for this Sixers team. Embiid, right? We talked about him being on his knees and how Harden goes up to him and says, "Come on, big guy. We can't be tired right now."
Right.
That is what it's going to take. That's what it's called, leaving it all on the court. Embiid hustling to block the shot, catching Jaylen Brown, and then getting back on offense, leaving it all on the court. These guys won't leave the court until they're exhausted. They're leaving it all out there, and I think that speaks to a lot. The other thing I wanted to point out here, and it's the last thing I got for you on this game, because we can go all day.
Oh, yeah.
But there was still room to grow for this entire team. They could have blown the Celtics out by 30 to 40 points last night if they don't make some of the dumb plays that they made throughout that game. One comes to mind. Embiid gets a rebound, gets it out to Harden, and I think Harden tries to pass it up to Maxey, and it gets tipped. Jason.
Oh, yeah. I thought you meant offensive rebound. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Just little things like that.
Yep.
If you can eliminate those things, you're going to see even better results, and I think that's a huge thing.
Or you had the one where Harden has to tie his shoe, so he gives it to Maxey. He tries to get it to Embiid, and Embiid has to smack it, and it goes out of bounds.
Dumb plays, right?
Yeah.
It's dumb. Just can't happen.
And bro, it's not just that. It's also
it's
not like the Sixers shot the ball perfectly. It's not like the Sixers came out and hit 11 more threes than the Boston Celtics. Nobody was just lights out last night. Look, Tobias was very efficient for 16 points, right? Maxey 10 for 21, just about 50%. So I don't know how much more you're gonna ask from him, but Joel 10 for 23. It's not uber efficient for Joel, right? Niang only 0 for 1. He didn't score. there's room for the Sixers to shoot better, to make less mistakes, to improve, man. So I completely agree with you. Quick little update for you, since this is the Faithful Fanatic Show and we cover all of our Philly teams. 5 minutes ago from the Eagles account, Christmas Day, my man, 4:30 against the New York Football Giants at the link.
Wow. Could be a game to go to, man. Christmas
I know,
Day.
right?
Hell
I
yeah.
know.
Giants, man. Let's knock them. Yeah, I can't wait to play them.
But yeah, man, just to wrap the show up quick.
Yeah.
I know you said there's nothing left to say. We spent about an hour on this one game, and I don't know, man. Like this, they continue to show me that they're different, because I've never felt this happy as a Sixers fan, I think, in my lifetime. Like, game wise, like, sure, we've had, when you trade for James Harden, it's like you get James Harden backdoor in the process. When you see what happens with Joel Embiid, you see, like, you're happy for moments and you're happy for players to come in.
Yeah.
I'm talking about on the floor. I'm talking about production. I'm talking about playoffs. I haven't been this happy as a Sixers fan in my lifetime. I mean, I know people are having a field day with me on Twitter. Mark, shout out to Mark, because I said it's the biggest win of my lifetime. And they would host an Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in my lifetime. Not technically in my lifetime. I was barely 3 years old when in 2001 when they went to the finals. And that was the last time they were in the Eastern Conference Finals. So, like, I don't remember. Like, I have no recollection of that whatsoever. So I say in my lifetime because it's the first time I've witnessed it, right? So, man, I'm happy. I'm happy this morning. And tomorrow morning, I'm sure we'll be texting, and it'll be very businesslike and what they need to get done and blah, blah, blah. I would ask you this, okay, to wrap up the show. I know it sounds crazy because we're up 3-2 and anything can happen in a game 7. I don't believe it's over, but would you say that game 6 is almost a must win because you don't want to go back to Boston for 7? Because at that point, in order to win the series, that means you would have won 3 of 4 in Boston and won 1 of 3 at the Wells Fargo Center if you were to lose 6 and try to win 7.
Yeah, when you frame it like that, it is a must win. I would say in order to keep your best chances, your best chances are going to come in game 6. Sure, once you get to game 7, you never know what can happen up in Boston, but you don't want to get to that. At that point, Boston would be again favored. You don't want to let it get back to that. You've already stolen home court once in this series, right? And given it back. You did it again. Don't give it back this time. Let's go home, finish this in game 6. In Philadelphia. It's going to be the craziest Philadelphia's ever been, the Wells Fargo Center specifically. I should say that specifically. The craziest the Wells Fargo Center will have ever been in our lifetime.
Yeah.
And I think that comes to fruition on Thursday. It's time, man. I can taste it. I can feel it. I'm sure the Sixers can. I'm sure Embiid can. You come out, it's straight business, man. And, like I said earlier, I think that what Maxey was able to do for the Sixers, buy them one more game till we get another Harden performance. And I think we get John Howe back in the building.
Good luck, charm. That's why Harden was able to take the night off last night. Harden was able to relax.
Get right from John. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, can't wait, man. Can't wait.
Man, I can't wait either because we're starved for this, man. Like, I know it's a football town, and we love our Eagles more so than anything. It's the largest fan base the city has. And, we were starved forever up until 2017-18, right? And then we were in one last year, and the Phillies, right? If it's not a football town, it's probably a baseball town, and we didn't make the postseason for a decade, and blah, blah, blah. The Sixers haven't made the Eastern Conference Finals in 2 decades and haven't won a title in 40 years.
Yep.
This city, the Sixers team might not have the biggest fan base in the city of the 5 major teams, but I promise you, those fans are starved for this moment, and the Wells Fargo Center is going to be rocking on Thursday night. The Sixers better bring that energy back. We will be live tomorrow night, DSM pregame live, game 6. Don't forget, guys, if you want to be entered for a chance to win our giveaway, it is running all throughout this second round. Steps to enter: subscribe to the DSM Media YouTube channel. Tune into any Sixers Celtics pregame live. So we'll be live around 6 p.m. tomorrow. Tune into that and drop your score prediction for that game for a chance to be entered to win a Phanatics jersey of your choice. And maybe, just maybe, the Philadelphia 76ers will win this game tomorrow night, and we can get you that jersey in time for the Eastern Conference Finals.
And maybe we have another giveaway in the
maybe, just maybe, we celebrate the Eastern Conference Finals as well, and we double up. Also, check out our friends over at manscaped.com, guys. Use promo code DSM at checkout for 20% off and free shipping. Again, at manscaped.com, plug in promo code DSM, all caps, for 20% off plus free shipping. For myself, for Scotty, for DSM Media, have a great rest of your night, your day. Go Sixers, and see you guys tomorrow on DSM Pre-Game Live.